Cześć, stronka 52, a to jest... Stanley Parable. Gra, o której nic nie wiem i to będzie seria, którą chcę dokończyć. Bo ta gra podobnie jest jakaś super długa, tam około 5 godzin. I wiem o tej grze tyle, że jesteś Stanleyem. Jest jakiś paradoks, już widać, bo jest komputer w komputerze. Widać nawet jak się poruszają w komputerze. Dobra, przechodzimy do gry od razu, bez gadania. The end is never. Dobra.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-ending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Okej, czyli to jest po prostu gość, który siedzi monotonnie kilka godzin przed komputerem, tylko klika w klawisze, jakieś komendy. I... nie ma nikogo chyba? Okay. Halo? Zamknięte.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Się komputer włączył. Dobra, okej. Czy któreś drzwi są otwarte? Tutaj. Fajne góry. Zamknięte.
Stanley went around touching every little thing in the office, but it didn't make a single difference, nor did it advance the story in any way.
Nie, powyłączajmy komputery, może to coś da. Zamknięte.
Stanley clicked on literally every single door in the office, because he doesn't pick up well
Zarąbisty
cues
narrator.
from his environment.
I hate Mondays. Nienawidzę poniedziałków. No. Tak. O, te drzwi mogę zamknąć też. Zamknięte. Okej, ale co? Zamknięte.
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he entered the door on his left.
O, mam wybór teraz, tak? Okej, posłucham go na początku. Idę do lewych. O. Nie ma dźwięku, nie ma muzyki. Nawet nie wiem, czy to jest horror, czy coś.
Yet there was not a single person here either.
Czemu się
Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Okej. Czemu te drzwi się same zamykają? To mi się nie podoba. O!
Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track.
Coś musi tutaj być w takim razie. Jak on mówi, że nie ma, to nie tak działa, dobra, ale skakać się tu nie da, okej. Mogę zamknąć te drzwi.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Na górę, dobra. Na początku pierwszy... kurde, run, nie wiem, no, grę zrobię tak, że będę go słuchał, bo obstawiam, że można go nie posłuchać. Fajne. Dobra, zamknij te drzwi. Nie mogę. Executive bathroom. Executive nie znaczy executive, ale łazienka to jest. A szefie?
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this, what dark secret was being held from him. What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number. 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known. Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
Okej. Wiem, że podobno to początkowo była gra, która była modem do Half-Life'a 2. Mogę tu iść? O, nie chcę. I potem została przerobiona na osobną grę. Loading, loading, loading. Ładowanie, ładowanie. Aha.
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long.
O mój Boże.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large
Mind
door
Control
that read
Facility.
Mind
Okej,
Control
czyli jakiś
Facility.
ośrodek kontroli umysłu? Escape.
Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death.
Co? Ale idę
The
tam.
door behind him was not shut. Stanley still had every opportunity to turn around and get back
O
on track.
Boże. Tutaj coś mi
At
wskoczy.
this
Nawet nie wiem,
point,
czy to jest
Stanley was
horror.
making a conscious, concerted effort to walk forward and willingly confront his death.
O kurde. Wow. O, co?
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley was inched closer and closer to his demise, he reflected
Czy
that
mogę
his
się jakoś
life
stąd
had been of
wydostać?
no consequence whatsoever. Stanley can't see the bigger picture. He doesn't know the real story.
Ja mogę
Trapped
kucać, ale nie
forever
mogę
in his
skakać.
narrow vision of what this world is. Perhaps his death was of no great loss, like plucking the eyeballs from a blind man.
O, sam silnięcie, you can jump.
And willingly accepted
może
this
skakać.
violent end to his brief and shallow life. Farewell, Stanley.
To nic nie da jak kucnę. To nic nie da jak kucnę, prawda? Nie wiem, kucnę.
Farewell, Stanley, cried the narrator, as Stanley was led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, Stanley was obliterated as the machine crushed every bone in his body, killing him instantly.
Co? Stanley Parable.
And yet it would be just a few minutes before Stanley would restart the game, back in his office, as alive as ever. What exactly did the narrator think he was going to accomplish? When every path you can walk has been created for you long in advance, death becomes meaningless, making life the same. Do you see
Two
now?
doors.
Do you see that Stanley was already dead from the moment he hit start?
Co? Nie rozumiem, co chodzi korytarz, office layout, biuro, coś takiego. Flink cabinets, szafki, chyba o to chodzi. Komputery. Mogę je wyłączyć. Okej. To jest jakaś kurde gablota czy coś? Biura. Coś z tym musi być na pewno. Co napisy? Co? O co tu chodzi? Maintenance room and elevation of maintenance room. Aha, czyli ta winda. Co? Co to jest? Warzone. Early development science and ending where Stanley would end up. O co? Oni zrobili kiedyś osiągnięcie w wczesnym dostępie. Znaczy early development, wczesnym jakby mieli zrobić zakończenie, gdzie Stanley został wysłany na bitwę z kosmitami. Drąg. Nie mogę biegać, mogę tylko tak chodzi. Cargo lift. O kurde! Coś się stanie. Okej, to apartment timer, okej, ale... O co tu chodzi? Czy to w ogóle jest zakończenie, czy to cała gra? Okej, dźwignie. Zending, nie wiem co to jest zending. Zending model. Czyli to jest to pomieszczenie, tak? Escape menu. Aha, dobra, to miało być zakończenie też. Te monitory były włączone. Jest i wyjście. Dobra, pójdźmy do wyjścia. Stanley Parable.
Oh, look at these two. How they wish to destroy one another. How they wish to control one another. How they both wish to be free.
Okay.
Can you see? Can you see how much they need one another? No, perhaps not. Sometimes these things cannot be seen. But listen to me. You can still save these two.
Jak?
You can
Co?
stop the program before they both fail. Push escape and press quit. There's no other way to beat this game. As long as you move forward, you'll be walking someone else's path. Stop now and it'll be your only true choice. Whatever you do,
A
choose
co jak
it.
nie wybiorę?
Don't let time choose for you. Don't let time.
Halo? Mogę kliknąć wyjść do menu, ale... Czy... To znaczy musi być więcej, prawda? Kiedy indziej to sprawdzę. Okej, jeszcze raz. Okej, tak, już znamy historię. Okej. I teraz...
Co-workers were gone.
Ej,
What could it mean?
ale czy teraz
Stanley decided to
wszystko
go to the
się
meeting
zmienia i
room.
jest
Perhaps he
coś
had simply
innego
missed a memo.
tutaj? Jakby teraz jakieś drzwi będą może otwarte? Ej, nie pomyślałem o tym. Ale ta gra tak
Stanley
miesza w
came to
głowie,
a set
co
of two
jest?
open doors. He entered the door on his
Nie
left.
rozumiem, no już jakby... Co jest? Nie wiem czy to jest ending, ale zrobiliśmy już jeden ending chyba. Jestem za to osiągnięcie.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of
O,
disbelief,
porady...
Stanley decided to go up to
Porady,
his
żeby nie
boss's
zostać
office, hoping he might find an
wywalony z
answer
pracy.
there.
Zwolniony, o.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
O! Panda? Business strategy. Mam pistolet. Nie wiem co robię. Nie mam pojęcia o co tu chodzi. I ta muzyka. Mam nadzieję, że nie dostanę za to copyrighta i mi nie usuną filmu. Ile w ogóle film trwa? 15 minut, okej. Co? Wait, what? Co? O, ikonka jest na tej. W sensie logo tej gry jest.
Stepping into his
Nie wiem, o
manager's
co chodziło.
office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not
było
an
hasło?
indication of any
Przecież nie
human.
pamiętam.
What could it mean? Stanley wondered aloud to nobody. He began wildly tearing through papers on the boss's desk, pulling books off the shelf, looking behind paintings, desperate for clues to his situation. But his attention was caught by a keypad behind the boss's desk. What could its purpose be?
Ale jest inny
In
dialog
fact,
teraz.
this keypad guarded the terrible secret that lay buried below his feet. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret pin number, 2845. Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
Okej, teraz nie pójdziemy do escape. Ale nie rozumiem, ja tam zginąłem, czy nie zginąłem? Ja obstałem, że jak się ginie tam drugi raz tym, to trzeba poczekać. Jest czarny ekran, nie ma żadnego dźwięku, jest cicho. Obstałem, że trzeba poczekać. Coś takiego.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control
Okej,
Facility.
idziemy teraz tędy. Nie podoba mi się to, nie wiem czemu ciarki mnie przychodzą. Nienawidzę takich rzeczy. Dobra, przycisk.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with
Whoa.
television screens.
To są
What
telewizory.
horrible
Whoa,
secret
okay.
did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
Okej, jaki to ma potworny sekret? Nie mam pojęcia. Kamery?
Now the monitors
Whoa.
jumped to life, their true
Whoa.
nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building. Stanley's
Co?
coworkers.
Oni
The
mają
lives
kamery
of
w
so
każdym
many
biurze.
individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
O, co to? Winda.
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his
winda
boring
przyjechała.
job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it
O
blindly?
co tu chodzi?
No. He refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never. It was unthinkable. Wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was
Za nie
proof,
mówiłem.
the heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy
Zamknięte.
or sad or content. Walking,
Mind control
eating,
statów offline.
working, all of it monitored and commanded from this
10.
very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
Tu jakiś kod chyba trzeba rozwiązać, nie? Coś tu trzeba zrobić. Console disabled. Ale co tu jest niby? Co się stanie jak to wejdę? To są światła po prostu, okej. Co jest? Okej, to jest otwarte. Tu jest jakiś kod, bo tu sobie jest 5, tam mi było 1, 2. Tam jest 4 chyba na górze. Mind control idle away inputting. Widzę jakiś ogromny monitor. System power off
And
on.
when at last he found the source of the room's power, he knew it was his duty, his obligation, to put an end to this horrible place and to everything it stood for. Blackness. and a rising chill of uncertainty.
No też mam dreszcze.
Was it over? Yes. He had won. He had defeated the machine, unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense
A,
door
to jest niebo,
slowly
dobra,
opened,
teraz zauważyłem.
Stanley
Taki są.
reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved.
O!
Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him, for it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness.
To byłem
Perhaps his
uwięziony?
goal had
Ja
not
tam nie
been to
wychodziłem z tej
understand,
pracy w ogóle.
but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It
Nie
was
mogę
perhaps
przejść.
the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door. Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
Uciekłem z tego. Co znaczy, tak? Odblokowano osiągnięcie. Beat the game.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
Czy tu się coś
Stanley
zmieniło?
decided to go to the meeting
Od razu mnie wczytało do
Perhaps he
gry.
had simply missed a memo.
Czy coś się tutaj teraz zmieniło? Czy któreś drzwi teraz są otwarte?
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Idę po prawej. Mogę?
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Okej.
Yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few
Mogę?
moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room. Stanley simply stood here, drinking it all in.
Okej.
But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Znowu muszę wybrać? Nie. Nie będę cię słuchał teraz.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Tu kartę trzeba, okej. Warning, do not jump from the cargo lift while it's motion. Will cause death. No, raczej jakbym zeskoczył, to faktycznie bym mógł spać.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot.
A, ja
here.
wstałem, że mogę
I'm
skoczyć,
not
tak?
your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be
Oh.
difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you
Tam
all
jadę,
this
tak?
time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for her. This is it, Stanley.
Co?
Your
Kto?
chance to redeem yourself. To
Kto?
put your work aside. To let her back into your life. She's been
Ona.
waiting.
Kto ona? Who? O kurde!
That's her, Stanley. You need to be the one to do this. To reach out to her.
Co?
If you can truly place your faith in another, then pick up the phone.
Okej. O Jezus! Maria. Co?
Oh, Stanley, is that you? Hold on, sweetie. Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm just pulling the bread out of the oven. All right. Okay, there we go. All right, now, I want you to come in and tell me all about your
Gotcha! Oh, come on. Did you actually think you had a loving wife who'd want to commit their life to you? I'm trying to make a point here, Stanley. I'm trying to get you to see something. Come inside. Let me show you what's really going on here.
Okej.
This is a very sad story about the death of a man named Stanley.
Co? Czemu? Ci ten pracowniku... Jeśli na klawiaturze?
Stanley is quite a boring fellow. He has a job that demands nothing of him, and every button that he
Czemu to jest
pushes is
zablokowane?
a reminder of the inconsequential nature of his existence.
Okej.
Look at him there, pushing buttons, doing exactly what he's told to do. Now he's pushing a button.
Jestem tu
Now
uwięziony.
he's eating lunch. Now he's
Zwany
going
kinem.
home. Now he's coming back to work. One might even feel
Z
sorry
biura.
for him, except that he's chosen this life.
Czemu nie mogę tu pójść? Czemu tu jest fotel? Jeden.
But in his mind, he can go on fantastic adventures.
Czekajcie. Okej.
From behind his desk, Stanley dreamed of wild expeditions into the unknown, fantastic discoveries of new lands. It was wonderful, and each day that he returned to work was a reminder that none of it would ever happen to him. And so he began to fantasize about his
Ale
own
gdzie
job.
telewizor? Kliknąłem prosto
First,
tak.
he imagined that one day while at work, he stepped up from his desk to realize that all of his co-workers, his boss, everyone in the building had suddenly vanished off the face of the earth. The thought excited him terribly. So he went further. He imagined that he came to two open doors and that he could go through either. At last, choice. It barely even mattered what
Czy
lay
ona
behind
powiada to,
each
co
door.
robiłem
The
właśnie?
mere thought that his decisions would mean something was almost too wonderful to behold.
Słyszę zegar. Czy ja po prostu
As he
mogę...
wandered through
O!
this fantasy world, he began to fill it with many possible paths
To miał
and
być obiad.
destinations. Down one path lay an enormous round room with monitors and mind controls. And down another was a yellow
Nie mam nic-
line that
nie mam co
weaved
tu
in many
robić.
directions.
Mogę tylko
And
stać
down
i
another
tyle.
was a game with a baby. And he called it the Stanley Parable.
Przypowiedź Stanleyu, tak się nazywa gra. To jest 0?
It was such a wonderful fantasy, and so in his head he relived it again, and then
Biuro
again,
szefa, tak?
and again, over and over, wishing beyond hope that it would never end, that he might always feel this free. Surely there's an answer down some new path, mustn't there be? Perhaps if he played just one more time.
Powiedz żonie, że ją kochasz. Okej.
But there is no answer.
O, co jest?
How could there possibly be?
Czemu?
In reality, all he's doing is pushing the same buttons he always has. Nothing has changed. The longer he spends here, the more invested he gets, the more he forgets which life is the real one.
Iść spać, okej.
And I'm trying to tell him this, that in
Się
this
zablokowało.
world he can never be anything but an observer, that as long as he remains here, he's slowly killing himself. But he won't listen to
Ja
me.
nie rozumiem
He
tej
won't
gry.
stop.
Czy ja powinienem
Here,
już rozumieć
watch
tą grę?
this. Stanley, the next time the screen asks you to push a button,
Kurde,
do
znowu
not
wybór mam, tak?
do it.
Kliknę.
You see? Can he just not hear me? How can I tell him in a way that he'll understand that every second he remains here, he's electing to kill himself? How can I get him to see
Czemu?
what I see? How can I make him look at himself? I suppose I can't. Not in the way I want him to.
Przestawać
But I don't
zadać
make
te
the
będę
rules.
pytania.
I simply play to my intended purpose, the same as Stanley. We're not so different, I suppose. I'll try once more to convey all this to him. I'm compelled to. I must. Perhaps, well, maybe this time he'll see. Maybe this time. And I tried again.
Proszę umrzeć, co? Co? Co?
And I tried again. And Stanley pushed a button.
Co?
And I
Co się stało? Co? No, o kurde. Okej, ta gra mnie rozwala, dobra, już prawie pół godziny trwa film, już w sumie pół godziny. Więc ja już to kończę, więc ja się z wami żegnam. Cześć, na razie i pa.